Hey, everybody. So I have an amazing guest with me today. She's had me on a couple of her shows, and her name is Ashley Owens, and I'm just practically elevated from my seat. Ashley, I don't know if you remember. I'll have you introduce yourself to the audience, but do you remember the last time you interviewed me? I handed you a four-leaf clover.
You did. I think I still have it in my box. I really do. I
So
think I still have it. Yeah.
I remember that day as if it were yesterday, and this was 2 years ago at least. I remember taking my dog out for a walk and saying to myself, I'm going to find a four-leaf clover for Ashley. I looked down and there it was. So that's the story. Please, my delicious friend, please tell everybody who you are, what you do, and then we'll talk about how great you can make others feel.
And Francesca, that I think I told like 45 people that happened because it was the sweetest, kindest, most genuine thing that happened in my business and to myself in the very beginning. It was just beautiful, and I remember that fondly, and it's a wonderful story. But my name is Ashley Owens. My company name is Ashley Assists, and I'm a networking concierge. So what the hell does that mean? That means I educate and train and coach on having professionals, sales teams, associations, and companies effectively build a network and build a network with intention to generate revenue. So my job is to go in, take a look at what you're doing in your networking activities, do an audit of all those activities, and build out a plan so that way you're actually networking in a very tangible and tactical kind of way. Everyone talks about building relationships. I show you how to do it in a way that's logistical
I love it.
and organic.
I love that. It's so helpful because I remember when I was in a business development role in one of my corporate careers, it becomes very overwhelming, or unless you have a system. And I wish I would have known about you back in the early 2000s, but you're absolutely right. It has to do with intention and following through. I just can't believe I just can't even number all the things that I've learned from you and the people that I've met through you. Ashley really is a powerhouse in all that she does. But let's talk about what we can share with the audience about how important, if you can unpack how important it is for people to pay attention to that networking image, if you will, as they're going into these circles, virtual or otherwise, Ashley, and your top tips that we can share.
Absolutely. So I think the top things that you want to share about yourself is, well, before you even share anything, you got to know yourself. So what
Yeah.
does that mean? You really got to know who you are. And that takes sometimes years and sometimes decades for people to figure out. But the one thing that you can use logistically to figure that out is understanding how you make decisions. So if you
Mhm.
can take something like the DISC assessment, like Myers-Briggs, some kind of emotional intelligence assessment, it's going to weed out the things that you really shouldn't focus on. One thing I like to talk to my clients about is like, hey, what if you triple down on your strengths rather than try to overcome every weakness?
Nice.
Once you understand those values of how you make decisions, start doing activities around you being good at those tasks because you've outlined them in a way that's intentional. The main tips is knowing your audience. Who the hell do you want to talk to? The top three groups that you want to speak to, especially building a network, are strategic partners. Those people are professionals that share your clientele. So think of like a real estate agent and a divorce lawyer are fantastic strategic partners because they complement each other. If someone is going through a divorce, they're either downsizing or upgrading, and they can share clients both ways, not just one way. Then you've got subject matter experts, people that are better at things than you are, and then you've got your current network. So those top three people you want to network with. So knowing yourself, knowing your audience, and then planning your work and working your plan. Once you figure out how you make decisions and looking at logistically how to build a network, put out a plan with achievable goals. Identify ways that you're not going to go into a situation where you feel overwhelmed, but think of all I want to do is talk to two people and set two meetings. Anytime
I
you're
like
going to an
that.
event, anytime you're going to an event, anytime you're talking to somebody new, the goal is to be of service. Expect nothing, sell nothing, because you're going into a room and people are selling where nobody's buying. So, oh, and the last bonus, we're going to do a bonus one, is nobody gives a damn about what you do. So stop trying to sell
Stop
stuff.
trying. That is such great advice in that just continue to offer value and to be of service because people connect with that. It's relatable, and And then you have a natural connection with these people, right? They're not going to say, oh, she's looking to sell her services. They're like, oh my God, that Ashley, she's really cool. Like, going back to the first time I met you, what did we bond on? Coffee.
Coffee.
Coffee. We bonded, but we weren't talking about what it was that we were doing. We just had a
Right.
natural flow of conversation. And essentially, that's what we want, right? And then you share
Totally. The
information.
relationship that you build with somebody is so much more than based on what they do. That could be an identifier, but that's not the whole reason why you connect with them. You and I
Right.
have never traded money, ever. We have never had a transactional conversation, not once.
Nope.
And you are incredibly valuable to me. And it's what we can provide collaboration wise that make a network work for you and in both ways. We were just talking about personal activities before, in the green room before this call. And the one thing that we have the pleasure and the privilege of having is a network that won't let us fail. And those
Yes.
are huge things, especially as you continue your growth, your professional growth.
So I want to repeat that for everybody listening, a network that won't let us fail. We have prided ourselves, and thank you for you saying that I was generous, because I think you have been so very generous in connecting me with people. But this is what happens, right? When you have a mutual collaborative relationship, this is what we have to look forward to. And I also love the tip that you give, Ashley, planning your work and working your plan. Just go into the room and just for that event, no, I just need to connect with 2 people. Done. Like having these intentions is truly what's going to make us successful, not just in this one event, but all events going forward.
Totally.
So your advice is just above the charts, amazing, and helping us grow who we are personally and professionally. What types of things should, okay, so a room is big, right?
Mhm.
And there are sometimes when you walk into a social situation, it seems intimidating.
Yeah.
What can you share, one tip that you can share that helps us overcome that overwhelm as we're entering in a room?
Call upon your alter ego.
Ah,
And I'll explain what that means. So in the very beginning, when I started the business, I was nervous. I was unsure of my value, unsure of myself, what kind of services I wanted to offer, but I knew that I wanted to help people in a way that wouldn't be so incredibly challenging. Like I wanted to be able to use my intuition with people and build upon those strengths, which was I'm genuinely curious about another person. I want to know their backstory. I think everybody has a new story, and I selfishly like to learn from it. So I just continue to be a sponge. So how the hell do you put that into a business? And so I decided to, in the process of putting together the plan, I realized that the person that I wanted to be didn't exist yet. And I realized in order for me to be valid in my own brain, I had to call upon another persona to understand, to feel confident enough to go out there and be the best version of myself, even though I wasn't actually mentally ready yet. So that version is is Kerry Washington from Scandal. I watched the entire season for 3 months and binge watched it and said, I want to be her. And however I decided to interpret that came from watching her mannerisms, seeing how she thought, using her communication style, and using her colors. I mean, black, white, and red were the colors that she used throughout the entire season. And one, it's cheaper to print, and I just used that as my branding because it was simple, it was powerful, and it made me feel like her. So as you start to build out your own authentic self, calling, and I'm not saying to act completely different. I'm just saying use that as motivation about like, I want to be this person. And it's not a fake it till you make it. It's a mimicking to remove the unsureness of the moment, because what would carry you? What would Olivia Pope do? And that's what happened.
Brilliant. And your colors are amazing and do have impact. That is such a brilliant example. I didn't know that story, so thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
So, it takes me back to when I was binge watching the show. I loved all of her clothes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Totally.
everything head to toe. So that brings me to my final question that I ask all of my guests. So what is your favorite piece of clothing or accessory, and
Mhm.
how does it make you feel of all time? It could be something that you've worn in the past, but
Of all time.
what is that? Yes, you're smiling
Right.
so
I am.
bravely.
There's a piece of clothing that I wear only in the winter time, and it's my grandmother's wool cape. And it's a long, I think you may have seen it once. It's a long cape. It's got a turtleneck type of thing. It's got a beautiful buttons. It keeps me incredibly warm, but it is a cape that will never die. And
Love
it
it.
is, I get and it's got a belted belt, and it is absolutely stunning. And anytime I walk around in that, I get on average 5 random compliments from people.
I
And it
love it.
reminds me of like my grandmother, but it looks badass. And I love that because I walk around and it fits well and it keeps me super warm and it just looks like I know where I'm going.
I do love that piece. Oh, you just radiate confidence in that piece. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for sharing that. So, my friend, if people wanted to reach out to you and connect with you, where's the best place? And I'll put it in the show notes, but if you have a couple of places, where's the best place for everyone to reach you, Ashley?
Best place is Ashley at ashley.assist.com. Best way to work with me now. My course just came out. So everything possible. Yeah, it's done. So everything possible that you could ever need to know about working with me, but also getting a lot of tactical and tangible advice with templates, everything is all in that course. We've got about 20 students so far, which is super exciting. And we're going to always add on more for the first go around. You can take it on your own time. You get access to a mastermind group, and it's way less expensive than working with me one-on-one. So use that to your advantage, and we'll keep it moving.
We'll keep it moving. So I will absolutely, please forgive me for not asking you about your course because I've known about it, but I will absolutely put it in the course, or pardon, in the show notes so people have immediate access to it. Because listen, if you guys know Ashley, even if you don't know Ashley, her work is above and beyond. So I think it's so great. Thank you for making it available to all of us. So, because anybody can access this anywhere in the world and any part of the day. So thank you so much, Ashley. I so appreciate you and appreciate your time today. And I can't wait for the next time.
Thank you for having me. You're the best. I'll talk to you soon.
Yep.